I'm here with Marusa here, and we're going to do Paul McCartney New World Tour 1993, podcast number 2. How I got to know Paul and got involved with the tour, and I was his personal videographer. So let's get right into it. On the last podcast, this is number 2, the first podcast, I talked a little bit about how Paul always took his family on the road with him. So his daughters and his son. In 1993, Mary McCartney was 21 maybe. Stella was 20, now a very famous fashion designer. And James was 16. And everyone had to sign a contract there where they would not have intimate relations with Paul's daughters.
You told me about that.
Right. This is a recap for the people, because I'm leading up to a different story about James.
Yeah.
I joined. It sounds bad, but I joined the tour in the middle of the tour, so they never gave me the contract. Of course, I just had very friendly relations with Mary and Stella there, but I noticed that the contract it didn't include James, so I was like, yeah, you can have sex with James if you want, but you don't touch my daughters. So anyway, one of the guys on the tour, he told me a story about James McCartney. James was 16 at the time, but when he was like 8.
So he's the youngest?
He was the youngest until now. Now they have a daughter named Beatrice who's quite much younger. But James is like 40 now or something. Anyway, one time James, as a little boy, he was in MPL, which is Paul McCartney's offices in London there, and he's just picking up phones and slamming them down and banging them, and Paul's manager is like, James, you might not want to do that to the phones. I mean, phones are expensive and you could damage them there. James turned to him and says, when my father dies and all of this empire is mine, you will be the first to go, he said to the manager. Anyway, he grew up to be a nice fellow. So we were on tour in Japan and South America. The last show of the tour was in Santiago, Chile. It was on December 16th, 1993. And the night before, they said, we're going to treat you, we're going to take you out to a great club or something like that. And we all went out and we got drunk and everything. And we had been in this bar in Argentina prior to that for like a whole week, because Paul, not like the young kids today, they'll do a show every night. Paul would do a show every 3 or 4 days to rest his voice. He was 50 at the time. Now he's 83. But even then, so that meant a lot of downtime for us, And so we got to this club right there, and this woman 2 weeks ago in Buenos Aires, for some reason, I said to her, I know Buenos Aires is famous for 2 things. She said, what's that? I said, beef and cocaine. Yeah? And she was the hotel bartender, so I would go down there every night. So the next night, I came down and she says, I have something for you. And she slid a matchbox, like that would hold wooden matches.
Yeah.
So it was like a box, like a rectangular box. And I looked and it was full of cocaine, which I didn't really do,
Whoa.
It was just an aside that I said they were famous for beef and cocaine.
It was a souvenir.
Yeah, it was a souvenir. And I'm like, I don't want to do this, I got to, because I knew I had to go to work the next morning or whatever for Paul's next concert the next day. So I just put it in my bag, and I traveled all through South America, through the airports with cocaine in my carry-on, which was not very smart, but I never thought about it,
Yeah.
And then we go it's the night before the last show, and they're treating us this really crazy club and stuff. And one of the members of Paul's band, I won't say which one, but there was Wickens on keyboards, there was Blair Cunningham on drums, there was not Robbie Robertson, Robbie McIntosh on guitar, and Hamish Stewart. I'm sorry, Stewart. That's going to be an edit. Yeah, Hamish Stewart. And Linda McCartney on.
Mm-hmm.
So one of these people, when I got back to the hotel with all of them, I said, "Hey, I got some cocaine here. You want to try it?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course." And so we did all the cocaine in his room there. So now you know it wasn't Linda McCartney who was in the band, it was him. And then we were up all night. And then we had to go to the concert, the final concert the next day. And I was so bad, I was just sleeping. I wasn't even filming. And the guy in the band there, I met him afterwards. I said, "Hey, how'd it work out for you on that thing after no sleep there?" I said, "Man, I was playing, and every time we were playing Hey Jude, and Paul McCartney, he kept looking at me. He kept looking at me with like this angry look. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just leave now." And he said, "I almost walked off the stage there immediately and just quit. But I hung in there." All right, that's enough for that story. I didn't just work with Paul McCartney. I worked with Tony Bennett. You know him? Tony Bennett, contemporary of Frank
I know.
and Dean and all those guys. So I did a video for Tony, and I had never met him actually. I was the editor, and they shot this video. This was also around the time of Paul, so it was in the 90s, 93. So anyway, I'm editing Tony's video, a promotional video for his latest album there. And then one day in the editing room, I was alone, the phone rings, and I pick it up, and I hear this guy go, "Hello, this is Tony Bennett." That's how I talk, kind of. I was like, "Hello, Mr. Bennett, nice to meet you. Who am I talking to? Who do I have the pleasure of talking to?" I said, "Well, my name's Michael. I'm your editor. I'm editing the video for you." "Yeah, how's the piece look?" I said, "Well, it's coming along. Give us a couple of days, and we'll probably have something to show you." He says, No. The piece. How's the piece look?" I said, "Well, I think, soon it'll be ship shape." No, the hairpiece. How's the hairpiece look?" Because he wore like a wig. He wanted to make sure his hairpiece looked good on the camera. All right. Let's get back to the Beatles here.